Bobby Griff here. How are you?
Hey, Griff, good to talk to you. How you doing, man? How's your spring going?
How are you? You doing good?
I'm great. Things are going good.
I can imagine up there with Jeremy Pruitt there. Kind of take us to your first meeting with him, talking to him, and your impression.
Well, first time I met him was on the day he signed as the coach. Had a chance to do a little sit down with him, and one thing that hit me was he's all football. I mean, he doesn't want to know what you think about the weather or how your family's doing. He wants to know about what's going to be going on that day in practice, and how they're going to get better. And I was listening to that cut from Coach Saban, and that sounds a lot like Jeremy Pruitt. I mean, so he didn't fall too far from the tree. So it's he's been kind of like Coach Saban does. No exposure for the media to the assistants. Very, very rare occurrences where you get to talk to any of the players, and it's pretty much one voice, and it's his voice. And he doesn't let the media watch much of practice. Maybe the first 10 minutes when they're stretching and those type things, but no teamwork, no scrimmages. So the media in Tennessee is really kind of thirsting to find out about things because with Butch Jones, he probably talked too much at times, and
Right.
Jeremy Pruitt's pretty much buttoned up, and it's very rare that he even mentions a player by name. You ask him about how Jerry Garantano's doing, and he just talks in generalities about all the quarterbacks and never really mentions anything good or bad that Garantano's doing. So what he expects from the position. So it's been interesting. It's been kind of a change. With Butch Jones, if you'd ask him on Garantano, he would go on for 3 or 4 minutes about his good things and some of the bad things, but you'd get a pretty good book on him. But that hadn't been the case with Coach Pruitt.
In your opinion of being around glory days, good days, bad days, mediocre days there, was a culture change needed? Did Fulmer hit the right button on here just so far?
Well, I think everybody understood after you go 0-8 that probably things aren't going down the right track. And, they just could never get over the injury bug. I thought one of the things, Scott, that Coach Pruitt said when we were on the recruiting tours on signing day was somebody was asking him about if he'd studied or looked into the amount of injuries that Tennessee had over the past couple of years and how some of those injuries have really been crippling to Tennessee teams. I mean, down the second half of the season last year, Tennessee's playing with walk-ons. And in a couple of games, I guess the Alabama game 2 years ago, they had to pull a red shirt off Marcus Tatum for the Alabama game because they had nobody else to play in the offensive line. That was his first action as a college football player was playing against Alabama. So that kind of tells you where they were depth-wise and injury-wise. And so somebody asked him, how do you address the injury situation? And Jeremy Pruitt, I thought, hit it pretty much on the head when he said, when you get big trucks and you have small trucks and they run into each other, what happens to the small truck? Well, we've got too many small trucks at Tennessee. And I thought that pretty much hit it on the head. And, he knows what good looks like, and he knows what a linebacker in the SEC is supposed to look like because he's seen him at Alabama and Georgia. And he knows what he wants in a running back because he's seen it at Alabama. He knows what offensive linemen and tight ends ought to look like. And he doesn't have a lot of those at Tennessee right now. A lot of that's because of injuries. A lot of it's because guys have left. And anytime you have coaching changes, I think one thing that really Butch Jones never really recovered from at Tennessee, and not a lot of people talk about this, is when you go through 3 coaches in 3 years, there's so much attrition and people leaving, and it's just hard to get a beat and a foothold in recruiting. And I think Butch did as much as he could, but I don't think he ever got over the depth situation. I don't think he ever got over the fact that he just didn't have enough quality depth. And when you had an injury or two, it crippled the football team. I mean, it just absolutely, they just couldn't recover from some of those injuries. When they lost Darren Kirkland Jr., when they lost Jalen Reeves-Maybin, they just had nobody there that could step up and play as well as those guys could. And when you're at Alabama and Georgia the last couple of years, they lose a linebacker, we'll plug the next guy in, and you don't really drop off very much. That wasn't the case with Butch Jones, and not many people talk about that, and that's not an excuse, but it's just a fact that they just couldn't overcome injuries, and when they got him in the offensive line, it was just devastating. And it's hard to win in this league when you can't go toe-to-toe in the offensive and defensive line. And Tennessee hadn't been able to do that in the last couple of years.
Yeah, and you've heard the theory of recruiting for 1,000 years. You've got to recruit the Southeast. Phillip used to go to California and grab guys, and you just kind of – it's almost like a Southeast national brand because of the state of Tennessee. Now, I know Tennessee's improved on high school players coming out, but is Pruitt following the same kind of blueprint when you look at what he's doing? Because he's really making some inroads on some guys putting Tennessee in their top 10, top 5.
Yeah, he is. But here's the thing, Scott, and I think this is the thing that Butch Jones and Derek Dooley and Lane Kiffin even saw, that, you spend all this energy and you get these guys in their, Tennessee in the top 5 and a lot of the guys, then you don't sign them. And then you've spent all this time recruiting these guys, and now you don't have them, and now you got to go find somebody else. So I think what Jeremy Pruitt, and I think Butch Jones was doing that at the end, you go get guys that you're pretty sure you can sign. And then I think one of the things the last couple of years also was player development. There were some guys, for whatever reason, just never really took those huge steps forward. There were, there are exceptions. I mean, Derek Barnett certainly does not fit in that mold. Darren Kirkland Jr., Jalen Reeves-Maven, all those guys just turned out to be really terrific football players. But overall, I don't think that they didn't lift enough of them to get to the point where you had that many good players. So when you get some of these guys, these 3- and 4-star guys, you got to coach them up, and they've got to be able to come in and make progress for you. And I think that's what Jeremy Pruitt will find, that he'll be out there swinging for the fences.
Yeah,
with a bunch of these guys, and I don't think, because he knows from being at Georgia and Alabama in Florida State. I mean, he knows where the good football players are, and with his ties to Alabama and Georgia high schools, he knows where the good football players are. Now, the key is, can he get them? Can he swing them when they get down on signing day, and it's between Tennessee, Alabama, and Georgia? Can he swing those guys to Tennessee? I mean, that'll be his big challenge.
Well, he did get J.J. Peterson, the 5-star,
yes, he did.
And that's
yes, he did.
That's an impactful player.
So you hope that sets a trend that there's more coming, but you need more of those guys at Tennessee right now.
So I guess, and this is kind of off subject a little bit, but to hear you talking about Butch Jones, and I agree with everything you said, it makes me appreciate what Josh Dobbs did even more then.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? What a guy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Josh Dobbs was, I think, he gets more and more admiration and respect from Tennessee fans as you look back, and you go back and watch some of his highlight films, and it's just jaw-dropping. I mean, just all the 3rd and 11s where he was basically just in trouble and running for his life, and he picks up 20 yards, or he makes a play, or he throws the Hail Mary to Juwan Jennings. He put a lot of that load on his back and really carried Tennessee to a lot of big wins, and it was pretty remarkable. And he had the same problems with injuries in the offensive line and patchwork here and there, and receivers that were hurt and all those type things. And he was a gamer and made plays. And I think a lot of people have got even more respect and fondness for Josh Dobbs even now than they had when he was playing, because he was something else.
Oh, he was and can't ask for a better ambassador and a terrific football player. Bob Kesling, our guest here for a few minutes, the voice of the Tennessee Vols. From what you know of Nick Saban from afar, what can you say his influence is that you've not already allowed in this interview from Jeremy Pruitt, besides the media viewing and all that? Do you see a toughness being implemented?
Yeah.
What can you pick up?
Yeah, I do. I think it's his approach is, and how he's treated the players and how he's treated everybody is that, for example, Butch Jones had a lot of music playing at practice. He thought that was to pump up the players. Well, Jeremy Pruitt, the first thing he does on the practice field, he eliminates all the music. He says there's no music during the games. They have music during timeouts, but there's no music during the game. So we're not having music on the practice field. They got to motivate themselves. And everybody kind of took a step back, and he's taken down, Butch Jones like catchy phrases and slogans. All those are out of the football complex. I mean, he is all business. I mean, he is about, what are we doing today? What are we doing on the next play? What are we doing to get better? And I think the players they understand everybody's got a fresh start, but I think that they also understand that this guy he's not playing games. I mean, he is out there. The practices are different. They are they're maybe a little bit shorter, but they're more intense, and there's no standing around. I mean, the third teamers don't sit there and watch while the first teamers are getting reps. The third teamers are on another field getting reps doing the same thing. So, and I think the players appreciate that because they're getting better. And Jeremy Pruitt admits he's taken that from Nick Saban and all these other guys he's worked with. I mean, it's his practice plan, probably from his dad too. I mean, his practice plan is nothing. He hadn't reinvented it. I mean, he's basically taken the good things he's liked from the coaches he's worked for and putting that to work for him in his practice. But it's enjoyable to watch him out there. I mean, they move around real quick, and they get a lot of stuff done, and I think the players like that.
So what is the Tennessee fan reaction so far? Because, there's been some apathy across the country with spring games. A lot of schools have even turned them down. As you know, they're not even as important as a regular practice to coaches. But what do we expect this Saturday for the spring game? From a fan perspective,
they're going to want to see if. And here's one thing: they're going to want to see what this team's going to look like. And Jeremy Pruitt doesn't want to show anything.
Right.
So it's going to be one of these deals where they'll probably play one defense. They'll probably they won't blitz. They won't. They'll line up in their basic sets all the time and let guys play football. So they're not going to let the quarterbacks get hurt. They probably won't tackle. I mean, it's going to be a thud scrimmage, I would guess, for the most part. There might be some tackling, but I just think they want to see how they come out. I think they want to get the taste of last year out of their mouths, I think is what a key thing is. I think they want to move on. They want to turn the page. When Coach Fulmer came in as the athletic director, it was amazing. I mean, the place, as you know, you read all the stories, the place was in turmoil and up for grabs, and everybody was upset about, what was going on and the coaching search and, who was running the show and where's the ship going and all those type of things. And as soon as they hired Phillip Fulmer, I mean, it was like calm. The waters just calmed down, and everybody was, he's our guy, and he knows what Tennessee's all about. We're good with that. And if Jeremy Pruitt's good enough for him, he's good enough for us. And that's kind of the way everybody's bought into this. So, now Saturday they're going to want to see, though, is this team? I think they want to see if this team is well coached. Are they going to line up? Are they going to be crisp? Are they going to, not jump off sides and all those things you want to see? Because that's about all they're going to see in this first day. And they want to, he switched so many people around too, Scott. He wants to. They're going to want to see. Well, where is Tyler Bird? Is he going to be a wide receiver? Is he going to be a defensive back? Alontae Taylor, who's a highly regarded wide receiver, well, now he's playing defensive back. Is he going to go both ways? Could it be the next Carl Pickens at Tennessee? Could he go both ways, or is he going to be in the secondary? He hadn't played secondary much in high school, but is he going to, could he line up on opening day against West Virginia as one of the starting cornerbacks for Tennessee? That's kind of what they're going to want to see Saturday, where these guys line up. Tennessee, Scott, too, they lost a lot of good players off of last year's team. When you start going down the list of guys, Rashad Golden and Khalil McKenzie and on and on and on. I mean, there's 7 or 8 or 9 guys that really played a lot of football for them last year. Brett Kendrick. I mean, so they got a bunch of guys that aren't going to be around, and they've got to replace those guys first.
Did Phil handle this about as good as expected with everything with Curry and the different things? And I thought Curry, he may not have handled everything great, but there were some things out of his control, and the thing was just a mess from the get-go. Did Phillip do about as well as he could do?
Oh, I think so. I think what he did basically was always, I mean, ever since he stepped down as well. I won't say that. I'd say when Dave Hart came in, as the athletic director, Phillip basically went to Dave and said, "I'm available. Whatever you want me to do, I'm available.
Okay.
I mean, I want to help Tennessee. Tell me what you want me to do." And I think he kept that same philosophy, that mindset, with the president and with the new chancellor. And it was, I'm here, and if you need me to do something, I'll do it. And so the president had hired him on as an ambassador. And so he was actually going out and trying to raise money and going around seeing folks and talking to the VFLs and trying to get everybody back on the program. And so when the uproar with Curry came about, I mean, there's Phillip. Hey, guys, if you need me, I'm here. And so they stepped up and hired him, and it's amazing just how many people are falling in step behind him. And Now, he hadn't lost a football game yet.
Right.
All those type things. So there is a honeymoon for both Jeremy Pruitt and Phillip Fulmer right now. But I think that so far, I think Phillip has handled everything about as well as you could. I think the fan base really wants him to succeed, and he understands the bottom line. As in most SEC schools, you got to fix football. Football's got to be able to work, or nothing really works. And so somebody told me when I first came to Tennessee when I was starting to do the broadcast, somebody walked in my office and said, the one thing you got to know around here at Tennessee, if you can rush the passer, everything works out pretty good. If you can't rush the passer, you got problems. And I sat there and looked at the guy for a second, and he walked out. That's all he said. And I thought, no truer words could be spoken about every SEC school. If you can't rush the passer in the SEC, you're going to struggle, and things aren't going to go good for you. You better be able to rush the passer.
Yeah, it's like swing at the third strike if it's close, right? It's okay.
Yeah, you better be swinging.
That's
you better
deep.
be swinging.